All right. So our last podcast was about Charlie Kirk, of course, and that's really dominated the news cycle ever since. So really, these past few weeks, it's really been nothing but uh, Charlie Kirk stuff on the news, and everything else seems kind of small in comparison. But obviously we don't really want to discuss Charlie Kirk again for 2 weeks in a row. That would be kind of repetitive. I was kind of thinking like what are the things that kind of drove the shooter, and I think what everyone has taken away, pretty much everybody's take is that this shooter is the product of the internet. That got me and Wyatt thinking. We're like, okay, let's talk about like modern uh digital vices, the internet, what's wrong with it, pros and cons. So this will be kind of a discussion episode about uh you know internet phenomena, and what to do with it, solutions, problems, stuff like that. So the first topic is online sports gambling, which I'm not a fan of. I mean, you have people with basically casinos in their pockets, and it's causing, not a totally insignificant number of people to lose a lot of money. And and you know how these casinos work. I mean, there's really no way that you're gonna beat the house in any meaningful way. So it's really hurting the pocketbooks of a lot of people. I'm just not a fan of it. Now, that's kind of my initial impression of it. Wyatt, are you more libertarian in that sense, or do you agree with me that you're not a fan and maybe it should be kind of regulated?
No, I sort of agree with you. I'm not super libertarian anymore. I used to be one of these feel good guys, like, you know what? If people, they're consenting adults, they knew what they were doing, let them make their own decisions about gambling, about, porn, about internet usage, marijuana, whatever, right? And I think in my old age, I think I've grown to understand that like people like that freedom is only good if it's used for the best things, right? Like whenever it starts to like crack at society and detriment everything that like America stands for, I feel like, you know what, that's kind of a place that we can step in and be like, no, you can't do that, right? So like, think cigarettes, think we'll stick to sports gambling for now, but the doctrine on sports gambling and gambling in general has been that like, look, the only reason it's even legal is so that way we can control it somewhat, because they basically said that this is bad for society. This is not good. It only hurts the most vulnerable people with a false promise of like quick wins and you're going to be able to be rich quick, right? That's not true, obviously. So we kind of decided that like, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it illegal, and we're going to have a carve out for casinos, like a brick and mortar location, right? And I'm not even the biggest fan of that, but I've always thought that outlook was good, like a necessary evil to have casinos, right? But this whole idea of having, like you said, a casino in your pocket where you can lose your entire life savings if you wanted to, I think is deeply irresponsible of the state to allow that to happen. So I'm super against it, even though, like I said, it's not the most libertarian position. I don't pretend to be libertarian. So that doesn't bother me at all to say that.
Yeah, I'm fully against it. I mean, people, you know, freedoms are nice and all, but if you give too many people a choice, they're gonna choose wrong. And honestly, it's like what net societal gain are we getting from people being able to gamble with a device they carry around in their pocket? If anything, it's really only increasing the atomization, isolation that I feel like people are already feeling so much, these days. And at least with the, casinos, brick and mortar, like you were saying, at least in a way, those are kind of more social. I mean, if you've never been in a casino, it certainly is not like the movies. It's not really quite as hustling and bustling, and people aren't engaging with each other quite as much as Hollywood depicts it. But it's mainly like boomers sitting at a one or two slot machines with their oxygen tank, just pressing the button over and over with their retirement money. But nevertheless, I mean, at least if you're going out, you're going to a physical location, there's at least the potential that you may run into someone, strike up a conversation, you know, live in the real world a little. So, it's definitely not a healthy activity, but at least there's some positives. I mean, it gets people out of the house, but we're living in this world now where everything is done digitally on the phone and at home. So nobody's going out, meeting people. Yeah, it's just part of a larger trend of atomization, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing, like I don't even, agree with the casino aspect just out of like the social aspect, like you're saying, like they might meet somebody there or whatever. I think the biggest part that nobody really gets about the casino thing is that it's almost like a containment strategy. So if like you can't just build a casino anywhere in the country, right? Like it has to be approved by the state gaming commission. You have to license through the Fed. Like there's a whole lot of holes you have to jump through. Think like I know we're in Oklahoma and we're a bit of a unique state here, right? But like even in like Nevada or New Jersey, you can't just put up a casino wherever you want, right? It's got to be within Las Vegas city limits and within Atlantic city limits. So, it's not like here where you can just pop a casino anywhere on Indian land. But I think that what that does is it keeps people from like driving the business underground, right? And then two is you actually reduce a significant amount of gambling. So, um, and like you said, especially with online sports gambling, it's just so inherently exploitative. Like you can't win. And for the people that are like, bullshit, I've won, no, 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 you don't understand. You haven't, no, you won't. If you, over a 30-year period, were betting, you will lose money. It is a guarantee. It is not a myth. Because here's the thing, Darren, I don't know if you even know this, because you and I are not gamblers, right?
Oh yeah, I've only gambled a few times in my life, so.
Gotcha. I stay away. I can't do it. If you're too good at these like online sports gambling things, they'll just ban you. So like if you win too much, then they'll just like either limit you on how much you can bet or they'll just say you flat out can't play anymore. And I feel like the whole system is designed for you not to win. Well, if that's what it's going to be, then we can't have it. We just can't do it. And especially, you got to think like, so like McDonald's, right? Their strategy is they don't make a whole lot of money on burgers, right? It's fries and drinks. That's where they make all of their profit, right? So the
Hmm.
fries and drinks in sports gambling is on what they call a parlay, which is where you have to have a series of events happen in order to cash out, and they're all low in probability. So in order for you to win on a parlay, they're the biggest like winners for you, right? But they almost never hit, and that's 90% of the revenue for these people. And so like when that's your business model, I'm like that's inherently exploitative. We just can't have it. Like we just it's only going to burden people, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's totally unfair. Nobody's actually winning, and You know, thankfully, in our state, we're in Oklahoma, it is banned. However, and I've tried it. I've tried downloading DraftKings, and it just the app wouldn't function properly because of the state I'm in. However, people do download VPNs, and maybe they pay for a cheap one every month, and that is a way to bypass it. So, banning it state by state is not foolproof. Uh, Even if you did a nationwide ban, I mean, people would be able to, do a VPN and have their location set to like an Asian country or something, or anywhere, and in that case, the ban wouldn't work totally, but I do think it would limit a lot of the people who would otherwise gamble if they have to pay for a VPN. They have to jump through these extra hoops. It would probably reduce the number of people who partake in it substantially. I feel like if you just put enough like obstacles, roadblocks in front of people, they'll eventually give up. Even if especially people who are not as technologically inclined, like think boomers, or even to an extent Gen Xers. Even though Gen Xers really aren't that old, and at this point they're pretty well acquainted with with the workings of the internet. I think it would stop a good deal of them from gambling.
Yeah, I think that's the fix, right? Is you just have to flat out make it illegal, make people jump through hoops, and then you can do sort of like we have here. Like if you want to do sports gambling, you got to go to official like a brick and mortar place, and you got to place your bets there, which is what we had for forever. Like if you wanted to back in the day, if you wanted to go place a sports bet on who was going to win the Super Bowl or who's going to win the NBA game tonight or the hockey, the Stanley Cup, right? If you wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
that, you had to go to, these are the two biggest ones, so I'm just going to keep saying them. But you had to go to Vegas or you had to go to Atlantic City. That's just the way it is. And I don't really see that big of a problem with that. I think it was probably better when we didn't have that. And because, I mean, here's my thing, right? Is I don't want a 19-year-old kid who gets his first job and he actually starts making some bread for once in his life to just start blowing all that on sports gambling because he doesn't know any better. Now, Darren, you tell me, what happens whenever the sports gamblers, the casinos come up and they wag their finger in your face and they said, Darren, 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 are you saying you know better for what's better for that kid? Or are you saying that that kid shouldn't have the right to bet on these? Or are you saying that his right should be taken away? What say you?
Yeah, I would just say like sorry, it is authoritarian. It is mean. People aren't going to like it, but yeah, I'm just taking your I mean, I don't even know if that's even a right. I mean, honestly, I mean, it, maybe some legal expert can prove me wrong. To me, it's more of a privilege allowed by the state that anyone can gamble. So yeah, I'm just taking it away. Honestly, I mean, I have I guess a unique kind of perspective, or in many ways, I've benefited from gambling quite a bit. For the viewers who don't know, I'm a uh, member of the Chickasaw Nation. So even though my uh, certified degree of Indian blood is actually not crazy high, I get quite a few benefits for having uh, some Native American ancestry. And I mean, the Chickasaws have basically they bought all my clothes growing up. They gave me I don't know if you'd call that like a stipend or something, or basically it was a preloaded card with hundreds of dollars, so I could just go buy clothes and stuff. every year, and and among other things, they paid for quite a big deal of my college, and I was able to graduate debt free because of it. So I'm under no illusions. They have other businesses, but the majority of that money did come from gambling. So even though I've benefited from it, I'm willing to pull the ladder up from under me, even though my kids, will theoretically benefit from it in the future. I think for the good of society, I would pull up the ladder and say, hey, no more, because I've seen it. People I know personally, they just you know they just lose all their money. They can't handle it. I mean, it really is addicting to some people. I kind of get it on some level because, you know, I've been in casinos and I want to keep putting money in, but eventually after enough losses, I get sick of it. But some people don't have that function in their brain where they just get sick of it and they just keep going, thinking they can win back what they lost, and they just go bankrupt because of it. So yeah, I would ban it totally.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, and I understand that that might be a slight infringement on people's right to spend their money however they want, but I mean, listen, here's my thing is that if you want to do that, then like I understand you can't actually do this, but just basically go out there and throw, 500 bucks into a fire. And it'd basically give you the same thing as it would if you were online sports gambling. And I understand that some people might have anecdotes that are winners, but like some of the studies that have like, looked into sports gambling, it's actually shocking how like little people, they're talking like less than 5% of people just break even. Just break even. Like, and it's one of those
Yeah.
things, if you're marketing this as anyone can win, and then like the few people who do win, you either just limit how much they can bet or you just like ban them all together. This is not, accurate marketing. This is bullshit. And I just, yeah, I completely agree. I think we just gotta get rid of it. So, however we find the best way to do that is, I'm okay with keeping a little bit of it, like in brick and mortar stuff, but like this whole like you can have a casino on your phone thing we're doing right now, it's not good. We can't, and it's unpopular because you're basically telling your voters, hey, I don't think that you're smart enough to make your own decisions when it comes to this. And unfortunately, I just don't think many politicians have the stones to say that. So, but we're a podcaster, so we don't have to. We're not held to the same standards as these politicians. So, um,
Yeah, and I've really said, I guess, my piece on sports gambling. I'm especially online, totally against it. Brick and mortar, I think it should be limited, but I would also be receptive to a full ban. But let's go on to the other societal ill of the digital age that is really ubiquitous and has really got its hooks in our generation, especially our generation and the millennials. And of course, that's internet porn. So I guess I'll rattle off my thoughts on it. Uh, yeah, I mean, I just think it's a total net bad. I don't think there's anything good to come of it. It's made people of our generation. I think it's increasing the, or I guess decreasing, I should say, the fertility, total fertility level. I think people, for some reason, don't want to risk meeting people in person, especially men. They don't. Men of our generation, they don't want to go out and risk meeting a woman, possibly getting rejected. They'd rather just stay home and you know, go wild in the goon cave, uh, that using the lingo of today. And yeah, I mean I mean that's one material bad bad con, you know, we're we're not reproducing in large part because of it. I also think it's exploitative as well. You have these like poor. I mean, not all of them are like poor or whatever. Some of them just do it because they're, I mean, I'm sure this word is allowed, but on YouTube, but sluts, So but a lot of them are, poor or stupid, so they don't have a lot going for them, and they think, oh, I'll go be a porn star. Yeah, I mean, and it also, it's scandalous in a way, I guess is the word. I mean, people see that it's bad for their soul, and that's obviously Christian terminology. So maybe we have, I'm sure we have more secular viewers. I'll try and keep it in the realm of the secular, but yeah, it's anti-life, I should say. If to make a secular argument for it, because you're not going out, you're not meeting people, you know, you're just sitting at home alone, much like sports gambling. You're sitting home alone. There's no social aspect to it, at least with a, casual hookup or something, even though that's bad, for you, I would say, at least that's pro social. You're going out, meeting people. Maybe you'll have a bastard child and will increase the total fertility. So, yeah, that all around. But what say you, Wyatt? What do you think of it, and what is to be done with it? Ban, whatever.
Yeah, this one's a bit more tricky to me because I actually don't share the same view about like the actors and actresses within pornography, whether it's OnlyFans or like one of the big like name brand companies that shoot it. But I do think that it's ultimately still probably a net bad. Like it's probably still not good. And it's specifically because of the people who consume the content, right? Like it's very addicting. Like the amount of like hours spent on these sites is actually like very troubling. And I don't see a way for us to like regulate that away, short of like some China era policy where we just totally ban it. I don't see how you can get away with it. But we definitely have to try something because there's no reason. I mean, like you said, people aren't breeding, and we need people to start procreating. And I think this is a one of the many reasons why the whole online culture can be blamed for that, to be honest with you. But this is one of the reasons for sure. I mean, think about a 17-year-old kid, a 21-year-old kid, or whatever, and rather than like get on Tinder or Hinge or whatever, he just is like, screw it, I'll just watch porn, and that's not entirely uncommon. You know what I mean? So, I the only way to handle this is I think that you got to ban it. I don't really see a huge benefit for it, other than like just because you like to, right? You just because you like to, and I'm like, like just because you like to do something doesn't mean it's probably in your best interest. So I really don't see a huge like what's the con, right? Like devil's advocate here, Darren. What's the con if we completely ban it?
Okay, so yeah, this is a hard one because it's one of these things that it's like what I would tell you know, someone I care about versus someone I didn't care for might be two different things. I'm not always consistent. If I'm talking about the general welfare of the public, I think it would just be best that we totally get rid of it. However, if I am to be the devil's advocate, I think you could make an argument that maybe the ubiquity of online pornography and the effects it has on fertility might have a eugenic effect. So while chat in this new hypergamous digital age, Chad is taking down legions of roasties, I suppose, and basically there's like one alpha male ravishing 20 females of mid attractiveness to high attractiveness. And the beta male, like loser, well, he is not getting laid. And this is bad in terms of societal, like, the fertility rate and societal cohesion. Because in ancient times, when when Chad got all the roasties and was the only one reproducing, what you would get is like different breeding strategies by beta males. You would have like the gang rapist. They would go kill Chad and then steal his women. So this is not pro-social. And then the whole gene pool suffers because now lesser men are reproducing. But now in the digital age, instead of the beta male becoming a gang rapist or a resentful, spiteful little fiend, what he instead is relegated to is porn consumption. And now, because he's addicted to pornography, he's complacent. He's not mad at the alpha male. He's not going to lash out at society. He's not going to become a terrorist or anything. So, in some ways, it is eugenic, and it's keeping the lesser males out of the gene pool. But the other problem is Chad, the 6'5", 6 pack, 6 inch, what. He's not necessarily reproducing either. He's just having lots of sterile sex with lots of women. So it's really bad all around, honestly, if I'm being honest. But if I was to, be devil's advocate, I would say, at least the bad guys are not reproducing.
Okay, well that's an interesting perspective. I don't even know what to say to that. I'm in complete awe. I just was not expecting you to say. I mean that was out of left field. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't even know how to respond to that, but which is fine. Okay. Well, glad to see we came together on that one. I got another one for you if you want to continue to hash this out, I'm cool with that too. But I've got one more societal ill I just wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, throw it out. Because I think, basically to sum it up, it should be banned.
Yeah,
Totally.
shocker to the
I'm in
audience, we're not
full agreement.
libertarians.
Yeah.
What do
But
you think?
what's the other?
You're gonna call me out for this one, and I'm sure our audience will because this is a hot button community. But gaming. What do you think about the gaming
Ooh.
problem? Uh, and I say problem kind of like tongue in cheek, but let's be honest. Video games can be addicting. I play them, you play them, all of our friends play them. It's very popular, whether they're mobile or you're using a console or a PC. Like they can be addicting. Let's be real. Um, I think they can multiply antisocial behavior, and I think that they can be a gateway to like I don't know, severe isolation is probably the right word I'm looking for, but I don't know. What say you? What do you view this as a problem? Do you view this as like on the same level of like gambling or porn, or is this like, just whatever your thoughts are on this?
You know what's amazing? When we were discussing what the topics should be for today's episode, and we were talking about, the the problems with the digital age, the gambling and the porn immediately came up, but I totally glossed over the gaming. And I think now that you bring it up, it's like it's just hitting me all at once. I'm thinking honestly, gaming could be worse than both. If I'm being totally honest, I mean, you look at how many hours people sink into these games. People might have 300 hours in a Call of Duty title, just one Call of Duty title. They might have 200 or 100 hours in a different one easily. I
Oh,
mean,
Darren, that's small potatoes. There are people that probably in a year they're putting over 1,000 hours into games, just all games in general.
oh, certainly, certainly. And honestly, I mean, over my lifetime, I'm sure I've put, I'm, maybe probably around 1,000. If, yeah, I think that would be fair. I've probably put 1,000 or more hours into video games. I've become less of a gamer lately, but especially lately. But yeah, I mean, how many hours have I sank into a video game? And if you think about it, if I spent those same hours working out, reading, how much of a better or learning a new skill or anything, how much better off would I be? A lot better off. So yeah, you got to think there's a lot of people that, like you said, they spend thousands of hours every year on video games. I mean, that it's maybe the first thing they do when they get home, and the thing they do until they go to bed. They just sink hours into it. So it's antisocial, like you were saying, in the respect that people aren't going outside meeting people. Maybe they're talking to their buddies on voice chat, so it could be social in that respect, but it's still, through a screen. It's not like they're hanging out in person. And then another antisocial aspect of it is, how people treat each other in these game lobbies. I mean, I'm sure you obviously have experienced it. We all have, Call of Duty, these lobbies. I mean, people are just incredibly rude to each other, screaming at each other, yelling obscenities and all this and that. So it's not teaching people to, you know, engage in respectful dialogue for sure.
Yeah, they don't exactly bring
I,
out the best in people.
oh, 100%. I'm glad you brought it up. I can't believe I didn't even think
I
of it
can't believe I missed
beforehand.
it until now too. I can't believe it. I have another one as well, but we'll save that for later. So here's the hard part. This one to me, it seems next to impossible to find a real like viable solution. Like porn and online sports gambling, I think there are ways that we can rationally restrict and regulate and all that, right? I don't think that people view video games in the same light, right? So we're fighting like a public perception battle there. And then also, like, I just think that generally, even if the public perception was there, I don't even know that politicians would want to do it, right? Because they're like, well, what's the harm? You know?
Yeah, it would be incredibly unpopular, and I don't know that. Yeah, I just don't think, even though it probably would be good to just ban it, even as authoritarian as that sounds, I just don't think the cost benefit is there for any
Well,
politicians to seriously
Well,
pursue it.
see, this is one I actually don't even think a ban is good because I don't want to take away the good from video games because, like, certainly, this video games is a mechanism nowadays for like people to foster friendships. They can meet people online. They can even like become closer within their hometown of friends. Like, I have friends that I would have never been friends with if it wasn't for video games. So it's one of those things that like I don't want to take that away. I don't want to take that avenue away from people. right? Because it's not all bad, right? So, like
Yeah,
with
there's definitely some good.
with sports gambling, there is no winners besides the casinos, right? So, but with gaming, I feel like there definitely is an avenue for like positivity, right? And I think that if we're gonna try and like keep that, but also minimize like the isolation or the honestly like the extremism, like I'm sure as you know, like this Tyler Robinson guy, he was kind of radicalized by video game culture and Discord and just spending hours and hours on the game, right? Um,
Definitely.
I don't. I mean, listen. So China has these laws where you can't. Oh boy, I'm gonna get grilled in the comments for quoting China. But basically you can't get on the internet really much at all past like 8 p.m. And I'll be honest with you, like just specifically for video games, I don't think that that is an inherently bad idea. I don't think it has a shot in hell of getting passed, but I also don't view it as like inherently like, oh no, that's terrible. We can't do that, you know? But I don't know. This is a tough one to solve because I don't think an outright ban is good.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right because the more I think of it, I do hang out with friends, you included, uh, on video games, or at least I have in the past quite a bit. So it is a nice way to catch up with people, and it's better than a phone call. Our generation, we hate enduring phone calls. Boomers and Gen Xers, they'll get on the phone with somebody and they'll talk the night away. Our generation, we hate that. So I feel like, playing video games while on a Discord call or a Skype call, back in the day, that was like a good way to catch up with friends while also, uh, you know, having something to do together. So, especially because society is so atomized, even though video games kind of contribute to it, there is, it also offers a bit of a remedy in that way. So, yeah, it's not all bad. It's not all bad, and like you said, people foster friendships through there with people online that they would never meet in real life, or wouldn't hang out with in real life otherwise. So yeah, there is a lot of good to it. I do think the cons probably outweigh the good, or the pros, unfortunately, just because it's such a time suck, such a waste of time. I think the American public would be better off if they instead spent that time, like reading or exercising, or watching, even consuming media that they couldn't, interact with, like a movie or something like that. Film is literature. It can be enriching as well.
Right, but I don't think we should approach this from the perspective that like we because like we want people to spend their time the most like fruitful, right? Therefore we want to destroy video games, right? I don't think that that's productive because then you can get rid of basically everything, right? It's like, oh, you're not developing a skill, oh, you're not learning a new. I mean, and that's not fair, right? Because not there should be some leisure time, right? I mean, I don't think either of us are against that, right? Um, but I think that the best way to approach this is from like the perspective of like, hey, this is a societal ill. Like people are being worse off because of this freedom. It's sort of like I don't know. So think of it like this: if murder was legal, right? Yes, that technically increases the amount of freedom we have. But obviously you can't have people running around murdering people because then, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just obviously a problem. So like in a weird way, like making that illegal actually increases freedom. And I think that that argument should sort of be applied here. So like if you made sports gambling illegal or pornography, then like I think that people would be objectively better off all around. Like I don't think there's one person that would be worse off if you made this stuff completely illegal. I think that's how we should approach it.
Yeah, yeah. With those two, I completely agree. I guess video games, yeah, a balance needs to be struck. I don't know if I'd go as far as China, banning it after 8.
Well, that was
But
just an example. I wasn't offering that as like a prescription, but
oh yeah, I know, but yeah, I do think a balance can be struck, and perhaps should be just for the good of society. But I'm more authoritarian minded. I guess I always have been, or for most of my life I have been, and I just think the nanny state should come in and regulate these things a little more, even if it'll be the cause for a lot of belly aching. I just think you know for for the greater good, people should just uh yeah, they shouldn't have as much free choice.
yeah, a couple of years ago, I really would have beaten you over the head, and I would have been like, huh, well, I'm actually a libertarian socialist, so actually, I think that people should. But I got to be honest with you now. I think that that's completely reasonable. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really into the idea that like, yeah, we should just let people do whatever they want. I'm like, have you met people like ever? Like, the fuck's
Oh
the
yeah.
matter with you? Like, these people are so stupid. They don't deserve to make choices for themselves. You know? Oh, great. That's going to be a clip in a few years if we ever get big. But, I mean, for the most part, I feel like it's true. Like, most people do not live life in an optimal way, right? Like, we could all be doing something better.
Oh yeah. I mean, even I'm guilty of it too. I live in many suboptimal ways. I mean, how many hours a day do I waste scrolling Twitter and TikTok? Quite a few, and that time would be better spent, reading or exercising, or doing something out in the real world, so to speak, volunteering, being a part of the community, which, I just, there's community participation is so low these days. I mean, that would obviously be a great thing to do, is just go out and volunteer for something, or even try to rise through the ranks of some organization, get some power,
Yeah,
something like
no,
that.
yeah, completely agree. And it'd be better pretty much all around. Um, okay, here's another one, and I was just curious, like, this one will probably be quick, but like vaping. And I don't know much about it, but it was just like the last one I thought of whenever I was thinking of like vices that people have, like especially in our generation.
Oh yeah. uh I mean, it's one of these things that I find kind of gross, in a way. I find it gross, and I find it stupid. Honestly, I don't like it. It's not something I've ever done. Uh, it is less harmful than cigarettes, and it doesn't smell like cigarettes. So in that sense, I think, if people just have this like oral fixation and have to be sucking on something, better a vape than a cigarette. All that being said, I think I don't know. I mean, I hate to just be like this guy that's so above it all, above everything, but yeah, it just seems stupid to me. I really don't get the appeal. But
Yeah, I don't
what say
know.
you?
I don't know that we can get rid of it just because like if we're gonna allow cigarettes, right? Then on what basis are we gonna, you know? Like I just feel like we can't justify it to the extent that we should be able to if we're gonna make something completely illegal. So,
Yeah, I mean, with cigarettes, I'm all for a complete ban. I mean, people might be addicted. They'll go through some withdrawals for sure when we ban them all, but it's, for the good of society that we just make it impossible to get cigarettes. People levy these sin taxes on cigarettes, all it does is it makes poor people pay more for the things that are killing them anyways. They're not buying less cigarettes. They're just, running out of money quicker.
Right, it's just a consumption
So,
tax, you know?
oh yeah. So I think, to the extent vaping keeps people away from cigarettes, I'm all for it. If people just have to be smoking or inhaling something, better a vape than a cigarette, even if it's just totally dumb.